Welcome to issue 45 of Two-Edged Sword. If you'd like to have your name added or removed from the mailing list, email hrministries2@yahoo.com to receive bi-monthly emails of Two-Edged Sword newsletter. Or you can check the content of the website at www.faithlawliberty.com. Regular subscribers would remember that in the last issue, 44, I printed in the thoughts and feedback section emails between my eldest sister and myself, where she suggested that I write a book about how I've managed to keep my weight off over the years. Our whole family, which Western nations generally, America, Australia and England, you only have to look at us to see we've got a problem with obesity these days. Just the average norm that is accepted with people now is that we all settle for loving our food too much, and the majority of people sit back in front of the TV and just don't get enough exercise, and just have lack of temperance in general with our overall living. People are hooked on entertainment these days, just a lot of idle time, where it's not like the old days where people used to get about on horse and buggy or have to walk everywhere and this sort of thing. Nowadays you have to make time for exercise. Anyway, she suggested that I should point out that there's two categories of people really that have let themselves go. She's let herself go. She was very thin as a teenager, but at time of suggesting that I write the book, she weighed 108 kilos. That's more than double her ordinary body weight. She gets down to 8 stone back when she used to lose weight. But she's the type of personality where she doesn't blame anybody but herself. She takes responsibility for her actions, where she points the finger of blame at nobody but herself. She knows, as a matter of genuine health, she's 4 years older than me, 50 years old. She knows that she needs to lose weight for health's sake, not for vanity's sake, but for health's sake. But we continue to pray about the matter, because when you let yourself go for so long, it's no easy task to get on top of it. My victories have certainly been no overnight deal. I'm 46 years old now. It's been literally decades of persistence and diligence, and this is the key word too, is perseverance. You can't just, you can work hard for a year, then decide to just take 6 months off and you'll lose everything that you've worked for. So you've got to make it a way of life. You've got to have conviction about the matter. But anyway, I didn't like the idea of writing a book, and I said in my quite a long-winded reply to her email, I said, why would I want to write a book, sort of thing, when the last book that I wrote, which took me over a year to write, my autobiography, 27 chapters, and I mailed the manuscript off to America, and only to have it intercepted, and it didn't even leave the country. And people might think, well, how would I know this? For a reason that this here is the envelope that I mailed to Zondervan's, and I posted it on the 29th of August 2003. It was processed in Queensland 31st of August 2003, processed in Sydney 14th of September, and arrived back in Queensland 15th of September, with devoid of any US postmark. And the way security is nowadays, there is no way that envelope left Australian shores, entered America, then was dispatched by US post to Zondervan's address, and then dispatched back, and then left the country and came back to Australia without a single US postmark. The only difference was that a label had been put on saying delivery refused, return to sender. Zondervan and Zonderkits no longer accepts unsolicited book proposals sent through the mail. For instructions on submitting a book proposal, please visit the Zondervan website at www.zondervan or call this number. But I don't believe that it actually even got to America. There is just no way there could be no US postmark. So as just the way that things are this day and age, as it said in Revelations, where anybody who won't bow to the beast will neither be able to buy nor sell. So, I just kept the envelope, put it away, and went about my business now where, like God said to me, you will always be able to give and receive. So I am quite happy and content to write a free newsletter, and I'm very fulfilled. God blesses me, and I'm fulfilled because I get to vent that river of living water. But as far as I'm concerned, books like a book on dieting technique or an autobiography, I believe in with scriptures, putting out the scriptures, freely you have received, freely give. So I'm happy to do that as a free service with the website and the newsletters. And like I say, fulfillment is my reward in that regard. But when it comes to ordinary books, like the 27-chapter autobiography, which I put a lot of time and effort into, that falls more into the category of tent making, and therefore a labourer is worthy of their hire. If I'm to be denied the opportunities that would come through having a book properly published and put on the bookshelves, that's something that I can't do. So the way I see it, I've just left it in God's hands. I've said to God, if you want me to write a book, because, if I rejected the idea of internet video for a year before the penny finally dropped, what if this is God trying to tell me that this is the next step for the ministry that he wants me to take? So, belatedly, I wound up doing these videos that you see on a bi-monthly basis on YouTube, and it's going, all the doors have just been really open there. But likewise with a book, if God wants me to write a book, who am I to argue? But I've put my petition to God that if he wants books being put out there, that he will have a publisher contact me, and there'll be divine contacts involved and all that sort of thing. It'll just happen in an official capacity under contractual obligations and under contract law, where the whole deal would be protected by, at the very least, the publisher's legal representatives, so that it can't just be hijacked and, computer hackers just can't hijack my work and make use of it themselves, sort of thing. It would all be under a very tight deal. So, and, I'm not off into litigation and all this sort of thing. That's why I just let things go. I turn the other cheek. But I'm certainly not bothered messing around, putting all that effort into writing another full-length book on dieting. So I said to my sister, how about I write an essay for the next issue of Two-Edged Sword instead, because, she genuinely believes that the knowledge that I've gained over the years, just through trial and error and doing everything the wrong way, but now having victory at the age of 46, I'm in excellent condition for my age, compared to, when you consider that at this age, people's bodies start to fall apart if they've not looked after themselves throughout their youth. And so she just thinks, I could really be a lot of help to other women, especially if I put in before and after photos and this sort of thing. So I saw fit to wear a lycra, sporty top for this video, so that you can compare the difference between my physique now compared to photos. Hopefully these will show up. I don't think they will. The light will reflect on them too much, I think. But it's not going to really show. But I did used to be considerably sizable compared to what I am now, back when I was 20 years old. But yeah, sorry, that didn't really work. I can see that the light's too bright on them. But anyway, the fact is that she has seen the weight that I used to get up to. Those photos were taken when I was 20 years old. I'd gone straight off drugs and was relying on alcohol and food to compensate me, to tie me over while I was trying to stay straight off drugs. And naturally, when you're combining food with alcohol, then you blow out, you get bloated and puffy and this sort of thing. Whereas people that are flat out alcoholics, they tend to get skinny because they don't eat, they just drink. But when you're drinking and eating, which is what the average Westerner does, they drink alcohol, they consume plenty of food, and it just piles up, year after year, decade after decade. So by the time they're in their 40s, 50s and 60s, they're well padded. So with my sister, 108 kilos is really serious business. So like I say, she knows it, and she's not giving up on herself altogether, but it'll be a long haul for her to get back down again. But anyway, issue 45 now has the Watch and Pray essay is titled Self-Control versus Denial. And as I said, my elder sister takes the attitude, a healthy attitude of taking responsibility, where she doesn't blame other people. But I've formatted this essay around another person who I'm calling Sheila, just to save her too much embarrassment sort of thing. But Sheila and I have had a lot of dilemmas over the years where she doesn't take responsibility. She's got, and this is, I'm not pointing the finger at her for the sake of saying her sort of thing. I'm saying this because the situations that she and I have experienced are something that the average woman out there, and the average man for that matter, can relate to. You know, these are attitudes that get formed in our soul. And the bottom line is Sheila has a problem with both passivity and pride. On one hand, she wants the good life, she wants everything to happen for her, but she wants it to fall into her lap. She doesn't want to have to work for it and, you know, make these things happen, do what she has to do. But then on the other hand, she's got this pride problem where she then looks at me, and she's seen me for many years, you know, where, you know, I've had my ups and downs and whatnot, but I keep getting successes that are not happening in her life. So she gets pretty aggressive sometimes, and not aggressive, but can lash out at me with her tongue and make all sorts of accusations, rather than take responsibility and look at home base and know that she just needs to dig in and do what she needs to do. Like I said to her one time, if you have to work a bit harder, then work harder. But we were on a holiday together when I got struck with food poisoning and I was vomiting my little heart out and had severe gastric. And instead of feeling sorry for me like I was sort of hoping she would, she very triumphantly declared, "You're bulimic." So I hotly declared back, "I am not bulimic. There's a big difference between catching a bug and sticking your fingers down your throat." So anyway, she didn't argue back to that because it's obvious that I wasn't so sick that I wasn't up for a fight sort of thing. But you know, some years ago she once said to me, "You're a slave to diet and exercise." And I said to her, "You're a slave to passivity and food. The only difference is that I enjoy my results, you don't." And she couldn't argue back to that either, because no matter how she tries to come at it, and no matter how much she has argued against God, you know, she really feels like God gave her the raw end of the stick sort of thing, it hasn't changed God's mind. So this is the two main points that I want to make for this video. There's more detail, of course, in the essay. You'll need to check the website or go on the mailing list for the newsletter. But the two main points that I really want to bring in, well, the overall main point is about this taking responsibility business, not shirking it off onto some other somebody or something. But the 2 points that come under that umbrella that I mainly want to look at here is self-acceptance. You know, unless a person can, I'm not getting off in cheap psychology, I'm just stating a fact that Sheila's problem is that she rejects her own self. So naturally she's going to be at war with anybody that then is sort of making her more acutely aware of her own perceived failings sort of things, and then she'll get angry at God, get angry at herself, and get angry at the person that makes her feel bad, so then she'll try to make the other person feel bad. So I had to think about it just before I move on. The other thing is diet and exercise, you know, and portion control. I'll be those are the two main areas, though, that I want to fit into this video under that umbrella of taking responsibility, is that you must accept yourself first off. Just like if you go to an AA group, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous will tell you the first thing you've got to do is to acknowledge you've got a problem. Otherwise, you know, you can't start to work with what you know. So in this issue, I've been trying to say, learn your strengths and your weaknesses, and then work with what you know. So you've got to sort of have that vital foundation before you can start building on that. But with the self-acceptance business, you know, I had a good think about why, you know, I thought she really believed when she said that, "You're bulimic," she believed it. And I thought, you know, to be deceived is to believe a lie. So why can the devil deceive her with that sort of nonsense, you know, to accuse me of being bulimic, when she knows me well enough really to know that I work out 6 days a week doing fitness training. I've got all my own home gym equipment and whatnot. I fast regularly, 78 days of the year. I don't even eat solid foods. I only drink beverages. That's as a Daniel routine that I'm on. and I fast 1 day a week and 3 days every third week. So that totals up to 78 days a year, which is 24% of the year I don't even eat. But yet I do it all wisely and safely. But why would she, knowing all this, that I live a well-balanced, well-rounded life, why would she believe something like that to say that I'm bulimic? And I had a good think about it, and the conversation came up the next time we met, where she just casually said that she's now using patches for weight control, the same sort of thing that smokers who want to quit smoking, they'll use patches, and to sort of have a bit of a fix of nicotine without actually smoking. So she went to a doctor apparently to inquire and get some feedback about these patches, whether they would be doing her any good. And so I then decided to relay to her my findings after I'd done much meditation and sought God about why she would be deceived to actually believe that I'm bulimic. And what God showed me is that because she feels bad about herself, but yet has a pride problem, so doesn't want to just, come to grips with that, it makes her feel better to somehow find me defective, and then that way she can feel justified with where she's at. But the bottom line is that doesn't help her. When I say her, bear in mind this message is to everybody out there, so you take it how you need it, sort of thing. You cannot make progress, to blame it off on somebody else, and if they put a temptation in your way, even if they happen to be eating some creamy cake and you give into temptation, to blame them will not help you get to where you need to be, and it will do nothing for your people relationships. And it doesn't dilute the fact that I'm a diligent fitness fanatic who regularly fasts. For her to try to downgrade me did not downgrade me in all reality. I'll just keep on keeping on. And ultimately, I include myself in this, because if I just let it go and start expecting things to fall into my lap, I too will put on weight. I see it every time I go on holidays. I come back a stone heavier when I take holidays. So the bottom line is we, all of us, just simply get left behind if we are going to just bicker and henpeck around and browbeat our fellow man, anybody that's doing better than us, because the people that aspire higher, they'll just keep climbing anyway. They'll try to encourage, come with me sort of thing. But ultimately, they will just keep climbing higher. And so unless a person is willing to take responsibility for themselves, they will get left behind, and they'll just fall into the norm of Western society of being obese. And, obese doesn't have to be, double the weight sort of thing, double your body weight. It can be just 2 stone can make a person obese, where it can be unhealthy, clogging their arteries with cholesterol and whatever. And that's another thing is with my diet, I eat porridge. I love cereal. So I have porridge for breakfast and lunch in winter, or porridge for breakfast and muesli for lunch in summer. But the rolled oats release, the gum that the rolled oats releases actually reduces cholesterol. So that's really excellent. I've always got a very low cholesterol reading, 3.3 and 3.8 and this sort of thing. So I really recommend porridge, and it's cheap. It's, very easy to fix, and, you can make it tasty with, I use psyllium husk all brand and fruit and nut mix and skim milk. So, do it wisely, just 1 teaspoon of sugar, and it's tasty. I actually crave it if I don't have my daily fix of porridge. And I do, portion control. So this is the other aspect, is onto the part about portion control. I said to Sheila, that she needs to limit herself, not deprive herself, because this is one of the reasons why she's had a hard time when she does go, take up doing aerobics or do this or do that. She doesn't stick it out for too long because she doesn't feel like she's getting results. But the bottom line is she's not denying herself the food, that it's got to be diet plus exercise together, because otherwise the calories will still. I've got photos where I used to be very beefy because I wasn't dieting, because I was doing heavy powerlifting with my weights at that time. I needed the food to give me fuel for handling such heavy weight, but now I do light toning sort of weights. But you've got to control the size of your food. I know my weaknesses. This is what I say about know your strengths and your weaknesses. And I know I love my food. I really enjoy food. It's the one vice that I've still got left in life. So I really like to enjoy my food. So therefore, I limit myself to the size dishes that I will eat. At night time, I only eat off a side plate rather than a dinner plate. Then that way I can't, it's physically impossible to spread my meal out. I suppose I could heap it up, but, I am disciplined enough not to go that way, except when I go out to eat and I eat buffet, and I tend to like to really enjoy myself when I'm out eating. But this is what I limit myself to for my porridge. That's a rice bowl. It's nice and small, and I can't go over the top of it, sort of thing, without it all dribbling down. So, that ensures that my breakfast and my lunch are restricted to that amount of cereal. That's a normal breakfast bowl that a person would eat. And I have been known to eat from this size bowl. So, I'm getting my angles wrong here. But, that's a pasta bowl. But I have at times eaten my cornflakes or my, Nutrigrain. If I go buy some other cereal that is a really enjoyable little treat for me, my eyes get bigger than my belly, and I end up spreading out to that bigger pasta bowl. So this is what I was saying to Sheila, limit yourself. Make it impossible to go beyond a certain limit. Don't use big bowls. Don't use big plates or anything. Limit yourself. But I said to her about, I told her, I'm not saying anything behind her back that I've not said to her face, but I said to her about how even the fact about this taking responsibility business, even the fact that she's going to a doctor and saying, tell me I'll be all right on the patches, she's leaving the responsibility on the doctor's shoulders. You tell me what I want to hear, sort of thing. Another time I remember she cried some years ago. She went to some counsellor, dieting counsellor, to write out a special diet for her. They charged her some outrageous fee, and it was such a strict diet. She had to drink her beverages without milk, and just really super strict, and she cried, and she didn't end up taking on the diet anyway. But I reminded her of that episode. I said, even when you go off to, because she'd also said now she's off to some, I won't name the name of the group, but you would know a well-known name of a weight loss company. She was looking into going to them when she got back from her visit with me. And I said to her, even that is leaving, you're putting the responsibility of the results onto that health food company or onto that fitness company. You're saying to them, because they deal in portion controls, she's saying to them, you make me slim, sort of thing. But ultimately, what about when they stop spoon feeding her? She will not have the discipline. Practice. We have to practice good stewardship. And this all boils down to conviction. Unless she gets a conviction that she needs to look, not look, but be healthy. If it's only all about vanity, then that's not ground enough to be able to get conviction about. It's when we know that it's more than looks, more than appearances, more than just being acceptable to in this superficial world that we live in. Yes, that does open doors, but as a Christian, I'm not the least bit bothered about appealing to people. That's what I said to my sister in the when she said about writing a book, and I said, been there, done that already, sort of thing, in the people-pleasing side of things. It's a very thankless task. So I do everything that I do these days as unto the Lord, and this is another point that I'm trying to bring out in the essay, is that don't do it for vanity's sake, because that's sinking sand that your house will collapse on that. But if you build on the rock, if you do it as unto the Lord, if you really take the matter before God and confess your weaknesses before him, the humble get the help. God deliberately frustrates the way of proud people, but the humble and a contrite heart he will not despise. So if you can settle the deal between you and God that, I know I'm overweight, I know it's not healthy for me, I know that the older I get, the more harder it's going to be to deal with it. The various reasons that are valid reasons to want to be the proper weight that God would ordain for you, he will help you. I have no trouble. I wouldn't recommend fasting for everybody, so don't go off, starving yourself because I fast and I get results. That requires the grace of God. I tried fasting without the grace of God, and I was starving, hungry just for one day. My stomach was rumbling, and I really had a hard time with it. And then my dad, that evening, I hadn't said to anybody that I was fasting, but that evening, all of a sudden, my dad started quoting to me out of Isaiah, have I asked you to fast? Have even I asked you to fast? And I thought, oh, I think God's rebuking me here. So I went and made myself a couple of fried eggs on toast and said to God, see, I'm eating, you know. But a seed had been sown in my mind for the pilgrim's path that I'm on, just my personal walk with God, where I know it's biblical to fast. Jesus fasted. And he said of the disciples, you know, when the Pharisees said, why don't your disciples fast? He said, well, while the bridegroom's with them, they don't need to. But when he's gone, which he's now gone and in heaven at the right hand of the Father, you know, then they will fast. So all I know is that I was feeling prompted to fast, but I just sort of think, oh, I'll give it a whirl. You know, I didn't get serious before God and take the matter to God in meditation. You know, acknowledge the Lord in all your ways and he will direct your steps. I just got in there, you know, I think I'll try this fasting business, and I was starving hungry. But now, since 1999, so it's, you know, I'm on my 12th year of this Daniel diet routine, I just do it, you know, like I happen to be on a single day fast today actually while I'm recording this video. But it's no problem to me. I don't have stomach grumbles, I don't have fainting spells or anything like this. I remember the devil tried to put fear in my mind in the early days. I'd only been on the Daniel routine for about a year, and the thought occurred to me, oh, what if I get leaky gut syndrome? You know, what if, because I've got no food in my stomach 78 days a year, that my stomach acids might eat through my stomach lining and then leak out into my intestines. You know, I really had this worst case scenario taking place in my mind, and I felt genuine fear about that. I thought, I don't want to damage myself. I don't want to wind up with all sorts of, you know, chemical complications in my body because of not eating. I know that the normal thing to do is to eat, and therefore I don't want to mess up God's natural system for us, but yet I feel convicted to fast. Convicted, though, that's the thing. It needs to be conviction. Anyway, God reminded me of that time when I ended up eating the 2 fried eggs on toast when I was starving hungry just for a one-day fast. And then he reminded me of another time when I was not under grace to fast. And that was when the church that I was attending at the time decided to have a fast, you know. But they were doing it as a church project, if you like. So I wasn't fasting. I thought I'll just do my normal 3-day fast. They were suggesting, you know, you can do this type of fast, that type of fast, or, you know, a Jewish style fast, or where you eat after sunset sort of thing. But I thought I'll just do my 3 days solid. And one fellow was really awed about it because we discussed at a Bible study group one night the different methods that we were all going to apply to our fasting. And I said, oh, I'll just do my standard 3-day fast. I do that every 3 weeks anyway. And one fellow really boggled about it. He said, you don't eat for 3 days. So I knew he was watching me and, you know, watching to see that I would carry this through because he really marvelled about it. So that was the thing that helped me to keep on keeping on throughout that 3-day fast. But I was not under grace because I was doing it as unto the church, not as unto the Lord. And I was starving hungry that whole 3 days. But then, thankfully, you know, as a matter of integrity, I didn't want to fail so that then he would think, oh, no, it's not really possible sort of thing. So at the end of that, I was like, he came and asked me, he said, how did you go? And I said, yeah, no worries. I said I was hungry, but I managed. But anyway, so that was a second scenario where God was able to give me peace of mind. No, I will not suffer leaky gut syndrome. If a person is under grace, operating through faith, then we will have supernatural results. So to fast diligently like I do, for a person who loves their food as much as what I do, yet I'm able to fast without any problems, and, you know, I'm coherent, and the longest fast I ever had was a 21-day fast, but that was for reasons of coming against an attack that was upon me. And it's like Jesus said in Luke, you know, certain unclean spirits have to come out by prayer and fasting. But that entire 21 days, you know, that was under grace, where I was coherent the whole 3 weeks. That's a long time not to eat food. You know, I was a bit concerned. I thought, how will I be? Will I be on the floor in an exhausted heap, or, you know, will I need medical attention? But I actually did my workouts, my exercise routine on my gym equipment. I did that for the first 2 weeks, and I was still taking my 5-kilometre walk each evening and had more energy. I was walking really fast. I mean, it's supernatural. And then the 3rd week, I had a church camp to go to at a nice hotel in North New South Wales, and I thought, will I have the reflexes to drive safely? But I drove there safely. I arrived home safely, and I was coherent the whole 6-day conference. And, I was able to take in the information and digest it all spiritually and whatnot. And it was just supernatural. If I tried to do a 21-day fast, if I decided, okay, I'm on day 1 of fasting, I think I'll just stretch it out for 21 days here. I can tell you now I would not last. I know this because I tried a 7-day fast and had to pack it in because God hadn't asked me to do it. I was trying to, aspire higher, but fasting has to be ordained of God. Otherwise you'll just, come undone with it, and you could do damage. If you really force yourself, you'll just make yourself miserable, and then the end result is you'll probably go stuff your face. When you finally break down, you'll just go stuff your face on a whole load of junk anyway. So you need to be balanced. You need to do things in a well-ordered manner, set out a plan for yourself, write it out, where for breakfast, because this is all what the health companies do anyway when you join up with different fitness groups. They simply sort of monitor your activities. So do it for yourself, just decide this is what I want in life. So therefore, for breakfast, I'll eat this, for lunch, I'll eat that, for dinner, I'll eat that. And if you can settle that in your mind, then you'll feel, and really consider what you're eating when you're eating it, enjoy your food when you're eating it, then you will feel psychologically satisfied. Whereas if you're all over the board and got no real plan, then you'll be, eating but still hungry sort of thing. I find too not to eat snacks between meals because that seems to throw me out. Whereas if I've had my breakfast, had my lunch, had my dinner, I'm psychologically satisfied I've done the right thing by my body today. And but if I start having a little snack here and a little snack there, even if it's only fruit, it will start putting me out of routine sort of thing. So it's good to have a routine. It'll keep you on track and give you a plan to follow. The way I work things, if you don't want to feel deprived, it's good to have a little treat because our bodies do need sugar, but sugar can be very addictive. I really find I can really get a strong addiction for sugar, and then I've got to go around the mountain one more time because I do break out every now and then. I have a little binge where I go a whole while and stupid, but then I feel convicted about, look at what I'm doing to my temple. So then I take it before God, repent, and he helps me to get back on top again. But yesterday, for instance, I bought some orange cake. I like orange cake, so I bought some orange cake mixes, and because I knew that today was my single day fast, I thought I'll have my healthy breakfast, healthy lunch, and then have the orange cake for my dinner. And so I didn't eat anything over and above that. I'll do that periodically, where if I know I've got my 3-day fast coming up, I might go treat myself to Pizza Hut buffet lunch and really enjoy myself because I know that I've got 3 days where I'll be fasting. But if it's only a single day fast, I can afford to eat something a bit more sugary, but that's not wise before a 3-day fast. But just, you don't need to deprive yourself totally. Paul said, make no provision for the flesh, and that is wise if you've got a real, like I don't drink alcohol because I used to, be a drunkard. So therefore I make no provision for the flesh in that area. I do not touch alcohol at all. But with food, because I know that I can have a little, replace my lunch. I replace a meal, basically, so it's where I'm still psychologically satisfied. I've only had my 3 meals for the day, but it's just that last night's dinner was not healthy, being an orange cake instead of, salad or veg or, some little portion of whatever. So, all in all, you are an individual and you will need to work things out to suit your own self. But back to this self-acceptance thing, don't compare yourself to, some glossed over soap star, because that's not reality anyway. They're all suffering their own problems because of the lifestyles they live. They do it the unhealthy way through drugs and alcohol, and they end up, off to an early grave quite often. We see time and again. People just, you've got to do things healthy. You've got to do things God's way. But with the self-acceptance, Sheila, for instance, has she's only 1 inch taller than me, but she has a short waist and long legs. I've got a medium long waist and medium long legs. She's had a baby, I have not. She's heavy boned, I'm got a slight frame. What's the point of her comparing herself to me when we're two totally different individuals? And there's constitution and metabolism and whatnot, where my metabolism breaks things down quicker and her metabolism is slower. And that's why I said to her, if you've got to work harder, then work harder. But don't play the blame game, because it won't work. It will do nothing for anybody. So you've just got to know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and work with what you know. Work out a plan to suit your own lifestyle. And I'm very blessed to be able to be in full-time ministry where I can work from home. I'm a registered sole trader, so I'm my own boss sort of thing. I can have a very flexible lifestyle where I can suit myself. Like I say, because I know I'm fasting today, I could wangle things to suit myself yesterday. But if I was answering to an employer, and if you are answering to an employer, which the average person is, you can't be turning up at work, anemic and falling asleep at your desk and this sort of thing. You need to have a healthy diet. Health, is the ultimate issue with dieting and exercise. People wind up with all kinds of eating disorders, or bulimic, or anorexic, or on steroids, or all sorts of things to try to cheat and to try to do it the wrong way, and it will backfire sooner or later. Especially the older you get, there will be complications. Sheila and I were once watching a TV show where I was actually messing with food stuff, preparing food, and there was these adverts coming on about these ab machines and, this sort of thing about, you buy our ab machine and you'll have this super physique and whatnot. And I called out, there is no easy way. And she and I agreed. We talked about it after because, she and I have both done the gym routine, and, she dropped out, but I still carried on going. And but she pops back every now and then for a little whirl at the gym, but she's not persevering, and this is what I'm saying. You've got to persevere with it. But I know that, like I say, when I used to be very beefy, even though I was doing all that powerlifting, I had to diet as well. There's no way just to go buy an ab machine that you're going to get a super physique. You've got to diet and exercise and, get plenty of sleep so that you're well rested, and just take care of your temple. You've only got this one body to work with, so just make sure you're doing things right. So I'd just like to read from Psalm 37 verses 3 to 6 in the NASB Bible, New American Standard Bible, that this is a passage God gave to me just before I moved to Queensland, and the day that I was, just before I went and hopped in my car to drive up the coast to Queensland. I sought God. Like I say, I always acknowledge God in all my ways so that he can direct my steps. And God spoke this to me, and it's really been proven true, where everything that I used to be that I didn't want to be, I am now fixed. God has helped me. He and I have had a cooperative venture between us, and anything that I've desired in life, like some healthy goal, or some, some spiritual goal, or some basic need to be met, like a roof over my head or whatever, every desire, I lack no good thing. So if God be for you, who can be against you? What power in hell can even come against you and stop you from having the good plan that God has laid out for our lives? So this is what God spoke to me before I hopped in my car to drive to Queensland, and it is absolutely proven true. Psalm 37 verses 3 to 6 from the NASB Bible. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and cultivate faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he will do it. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light and your judgment as the noonday. This is what I was saying earlier about, God will frustrate the way of the proud person, but he will give grace to the humble. You will get supernatural help from above, from, divine help, where just suddenly you'll be able to diet easier, and you won't be craving, and you'll just little by little you will become more than a conqueror. But this is if you're in cooperation with God. If you're just doing things, I take a 5-kilometre walk every night, and I used to try to do that when I lived at Woodridge. I thought I'll do that as an exercise thing, and it didn't last long because I ended up dropping off where I thought, I'm already working out 6 days a week, I get plenty of exercise. There was no conviction there. But then sometime later, I took a walk one night just for the exercise of it, and I realised when I got home it was an hour of walking. Walking is a great exercise that I really recommend. It's low impact, doesn't damage your joints, and if you've got arthritis or anything, it won't pain your body. But when I got home from that hour walk, I realised, I have just spent that entire hour talking with God, because I'd really tapped into a vein of praise and worship and meditation. And so then I suddenly understood that's a great opportunity. If I walk an hour a night, 5 kilometres a night, that will be an excellent time of taking that time with my husband, God, to be able to just walk and talk with my husband. My parents used to do that every night. They would step out for a walk after dinner where they would spend time together away from the chaos of all us kids bickering and arguing amongst ourselves. So all these years later, I started doing that in January 2006, and I'm still walking 5 kilometres every night. And in fact, these days I even walk a 5 kilometre walk every morning. So seven days a week, I'm walking 5 kilometres in the morning on one route, and 5 kilometres in the evening on another route. So that's 70 kilometres a week I'm walking. It all adds up. You know, if you walk rather than drive, if you're in walking distance, or cycle. I've just recently been in contact with somebody who said he's cycling to work now, and I said that's wise time management, you know, because you're making your transport your mode of your exercise, your mode of transport. So therefore you're killing two birds with one stone. That's what I used to do when I worked on council. I would either cycle or walk and jog and whatnot, and to get myself to and from work, so long as you're within, you know, accessible distance sort of thing. But like I say, you know yourself better than anybody else does, and you know yourself better than any doctor does, or any counsellor or anything. So work out a plan that will suit you, and then stick with it. Be diligent with it. Even if you don't feel like doing it, there are days where I do not feel. I can tell you 6 days a week to work out, especially if I've blown the diet the day before and my body's all sludged up on sugar. I may not feel like doing my workout, but I do it anyway, like what the old Reebok ad used to say, do it anyway, or just do it. And it's good enough in my mind to know that at least my body went through the motions. Even if I had to drag myself through it, then at least I know that those muscle groups have been worked, the blood has carried oxygen to the extremities and whatever. But there are times where if I know I'm coming down sickly or something, then I'll take a break. You know, I'll give myself a few days or even a week off, because I know that you know, the wise thing to do is to listen to your body. If it's needing rest, rest is the best healing thing for when you're starting to get run down, if you're burning the candle at both ends or whatever. But lest anybody think I'm totally obsessed here, I'm not. I know this because you know, like, I've not got some obsession where I cannot lay sport down, because like I said, when I take holidays, I lay my sports down altogether. Where I just, you know, years ago, I used to go to the gyms at the different hotels, but now I don't. I just enjoy my holiday, such as 2009, I went to China for a whole month and did not exercise in that time, so I came back a stone heavier. Well, if I was obsessed, I could not do that. I know that from experience. When I used to be obsessed back in my carnal days, I could not lay down the weights. You know, I had to do it as a glory, an ego trip sort of thing. But God convicted me that that's idolatry, and so I repented, and I said to God, please help me to keep my perspective right here, not to get off in vanity, but to just be a good steward of my temple. And so God did help me with that. He removed the glorified image that I was carrying around in my mind, and it was just hard work after that. So, you know, there are advantages, I suppose, to being able to think, you know, more highly of yourself than you ought. But like I say, ultimately, it's sinking sand and your house will come tumbling down. Whereas, you know, the old hare and tortoise routine, where if you do things slow but steady, one day at a time, just diligence and perseverance, putting one foot before the other, you will get there. I'm living proof of that, where, you know, I've got the photos to show. I used to be one unhealthy individual, scary photos, but now I'm very healthy and happy. So anyway, that's the Watch and Pray essay for issue 45. So you know, that's suffice at this time in life instead of a book. The other essay, Bible Before Doctrine, which I'll only touch on briefly so that this video doesn't run too long, is regarding an attachment that was sent to me with an email claiming that Prince William is the Antichrist. You know, all of Christendom at large is awaiting a single solitary person to come and fit this mould of the Antichrist, or, you know, the man of lawlessness and whatever. But I personally believe that the many antichrists that John spoke about is what the deal is. I'm open, you know, like, I'm not writing off the idea that there may be a particular individual, but I was just very cautious when I received this document, because propaganda plagues any influential person. It plagues my life, because I'm a mouth out there in getting in people's ears and able to influence people. People will try to discredit me and say all kinds of things about me. So I know from my own experience, don't believe everything that gets said. Don't believe everything you hear. Don't believe everything you read. So the person who sent me this email, I'm not saying anything against him, because what I am saying is that he's likely, just like the average Joe does, believes things too easily. You want to believe the best in people. So if somebody sends you a document or tells you something, you just think, oh, well, they wouldn't tell me if it wasn't true. I remember in my young and naive days, I heard that rumour that gets circulated that Cleopatra used to bed 100 men a night, and I believed it. I thought, oh, she must have been a wild woman sort of thing. It wasn't till years later that when I heard that in fact it was propaganda put out by the Roman soldiers that really despised her allegiances in high places and whatnot, and that made much more sense to me. I thought, oh, obviously it's easy enough to tell a lie like that, just to spread a rumour to discredit, a prominent person, than for the woman actually to be, when you think about it, 100 men a night is just physically ridiculous. So, but that just goes to show that I believed, just simply because that was being said, and I'd heard it from more than one source. So I thought, because this is a well-known fact, a so-called fact, it's truth, and it wasn't. It's just propaganda. But one particular word jumped out in this essay to me where the name of Mohammed had been thrown in, and I thought, well, you never know, this might be some network that are sympathetic with Islam's cause and so are sending out propaganda against, the future King of England sort of thing, because, Islam do target the UK fairly zealously these days. So all I'm saying in this Bible before doctrine is that be very careful with things that are rubbishing the governments and there are plenty of governments where there's obvious problems where you think, what evil people. But with, let's just say, for instance, like I've said in this Bible before doctrine essay, let's just say Prince William is an innocent young man who happens to occupy that privileged position because he's put there by God to be England's future king. It's dangerous business to start mocking and scoffing and scorning and railing against somebody who is God's chosen man of power for the hour sort of thing. I've got no axe to grind in these matters. All I know is that I live my life, I chart my course by the scriptures, and it's just not wisdom to ignore what the scriptures say. So this is what Romans 13:1 says, and 13:1 and 2. And I'm bringing this to attention because rumours get started so easy, and all of a sudden everybody can be slagging off at Prince William and can be bringing damnation upon themselves. So I'm just saying, be very careful when you receive what could well be propaganda. Always remember there is two sides to any coin, and always remember, people say where there's smoke, where there's smoke, there's fire. And but I always say, well, whose fire though? Yes, there may be smoke, but whose fire? This may not be. All the document that I've simply highlighted some points out of it seems to me all to be sort of hearsay and based on this smoke and mirrors type, nothing really solid. So the Bible is solid. So this is what God says to the world at large as a warning. So we can't say we've not been warned. Romans chapter 13 verses 1 and 2, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. So it's very serious stuff. At the end of the day, we're going to stand before the judgment throne and give account of how we treated God's servants. And people, kings and queens, are God's servants. I respect the Queen of England because she has lived her life very sacrificially and has not, just been one of these despicable sort of characters that used to get demoted very quickly in Bible times. God raises up and God pulls down. If somebody is failing to uphold godly standards, he has his ways of pulling them down. And who are any of us outside of Buckingham Palace to be able to know who's involved with the occult or who's not, and all these rumours and stigmas that get put out. That's ridiculous. Unless you spend time with a person 24/7, you cannot possibly be an authority on their lifestyle or their heart or where they stand with God. And it can be dangerous business to just start swallowing the lies or the rumours or the propaganda of what people want to put out there to further their own agenda. It may well be the total opposite, where it could be these many antichrists out there that are, they reject God's order in general, and so they will take the spotlight off themselves by shining it on somebody's heart. Prince William, he's the Antichrist, look at this and this and this, and taking the deflecting from their own agenda to rebel against God's order and to go against everything that the scriptures would put out there for as our lamp unto our feet and our light unto our path. So just be careful. That's all I'm saying. It's good. 1 John 4:1 says to try the spirit, beloved, try the spirits. Don't believe every spirit, because many false prophets have come out, but try the spirits to know whether they're of God or not. So it's good to look into matters, and it's good to test the spirits, so long as you're operating in discernment, but just to blindly believe things. And the average Joe out there is pretty gullible. They just believe what people tell them and hear and this sort of thing. So anyway, all I can do is do my little part to bring attention to this rumour, and really that's what it is a rumour doing the circuit at the moment, that Prince William is the Antichrist. All I'm saying is just consider there are two sides to the story. The man may well be completely innocent as of the charges laid against him in this document. So anyway, all in all, I'll leave this issue 45 with you. I hope that people can benefit from what they read in the essay and about dieting and what have you, because it is a problem with, the average person does not want to be overweight. The average person does not feel happy when they know they're out of control and when they're not doing the better thing. I know I'm not. When I have my binges, I feel, like I'm disappointed in myself. I sort of think, I know I can do better. And I know that it's like the old saying, we are what we eat. If I do the wrong thing by my temple, I will suffer the results, the consequences. And that's likewise with anybody out there. But, all I can do is say what I know to the best of my limited knowledge and from what I've learned through trial and error, and likewise with the this business about respecting powers that be. It's, all I know is that the Bible is solid ground to stand on, whereas these things that are concocted out of this, this book and that book and all these different sources that they derive their information from, you're playing a dangerous game if you just go along with that and help them out by distributing such information. Unless you know for sure that something is fact, then just don't cooperate in the matter. That's basically what I'm saying, I guess. So anyway, trust you'll benefit from issue 45. Until next time, God bless. Thank you.